10 brand new games that we are actually hyped about. Who is we? Who is we?
Anyway, that was a
there's anything
long-winded
that I
thing. Let's
missed.
just get started with number 10. Phantom Blade Zero. This upcoming martial arts-inspired action game is looking real sharp if the trailers are anything to go by. The emphasis here is on fast, brutal action, and it looks really spectacular in motion.
The hell?
It's good to see that the fast-paced action games are finally seeing a revival between games like this and honestly a bunch of other stuff on this list. Now is a good time to just be a crazy all-out action game fan.
Okay, this
There's
is kind
not a
of
whole lot we actually know about this game, other than that it's a wuxia-inspired setting and intense-looking combat, and even the developers are mostly unknown, having made a few smaller indie games before this one. But with Sony supporting the studio, we're hoping that things are going to work out well. You can tell they're pretty confident about it with the most recent gameplay trailer that just runs for 6 minutes straight and doesn't try to hide anything about the game. It's just pure gameplay and some boss battles, and it all looks very slick.
multiple boss battles in only 6 minutes. Hold on, yo, this shit looks
Thankfully,
smooth.
I have gotten my hands on an early preview version of the game last year at Summer Game Fest, and I can
like a
confirm
puppet?
it's a lot of fun to play. It's pretty over the top. It can be challenging, but you as the player have a lot of options, a lot of power at your fingertips. There's a pretty big variety of different weapons to use, ranged attacks, and also these really over-the-top, sometimes screen-filling special attacks. Oh,
I
and
think
one
I did
interest-
watch the gameplay that they had dropped. It was for one of the events, if it was a state of play or like the game of the year. But this looks a lot more polished and
tidbit of info we found online is that the game is set in a large
Fire.
interconnected
Like,
world. It's not going to be
I like
an open
gameplay
world,
like this.
but each area will be connected. And as you advance through the story, apparently additional paths open up for exploration, which sounds like the ideal setup for a game like this. You get some exploration, but it doesn't bog the game down.
Yo,
Or
he look
at
like
least
he
in
boxing,
theory.
too.
Honestly, everything we've seen about this game so far just seems pretty damn exciting.
is this
Like I
a
said,
like
some
a
of those
completely
trailers, the
original
boss
idea?
fights,
Like, is this not based off of anything?
that puppet boss in the trailer looks
same way,
absolutely nuts. The way the music cues
First
change,
Berserker is.
like different music kicks in. It just seems like a cool thing that we're going to be playing hopefully sometime in 2025. Next over at number 9, Steel Hunters. Mech games are back, and it feels real good. The humble mech has been woefully underrepresented in recent video game years, but with the success of games like Armored Core, the industry seems to have finally recognized something that everyone who plays these games already knows, man. Mechs are cool. Now, the ones in Steel Hunters look particularly badass here, like a cross between a Gundam and a
This
Titanfall mech.
ain't my type of game, not gonna lie.
Next over at number 8 is Hell Is Us. You got our attention here because Souls-likes so rarely
New
try to
IP.
color outside that established dark fantasy setting. I mean, what was the last one we had? Like The Surge? So anytime anything comes along that looks like it's actually different, then we sit up and take notice. And we're not entirely even sure this is technically a Souls-like, but whatever it is, it does look really interesting. It appears modern, but with supernatural, almost kind of Death Stranding-like elements and sci-fi elements. There's a semi-open world to explore that is giving us also some Control vibes in some of it, like, you know, the mix of the alien and then like the normal stuff.
Hey,
It was
are
rumored
you?
to be Souls-like.
I've been hiding here since the attack on Jova, when the bombs fell from the sky.
They haven't shown too much combat. There is a gameplay video out there, and from what we've seen, it looks like it fits into a Souls-style mold with your guy wielding swords
hell?
and spears and axes against these supernatural foes. The trailer was intriguing enough, but the way
Yeah,
the
a damn
developers emphasize
lightsaber.
the exploration aspects actually has us really interested. It's not usually something that gets brought up first, but the thing that separates a good technical Souls-like and an excellent one is often the world design. Exploration is a key component of those games, and some of the most memorable moments in these kind of games is when you just wander into some place where it feels like you really shouldn't be there, or you discover something cool. You know, that feeling where you go into an area and stop and reconsider, maybe I should go back here later, or if I push a little further, I might find something cool. I hope this game is able to give us those feelings, because looking at the world design and the trailers and the gameplay trailers and stuff like that, it looks like it might. Now, as of right now, this is coming out September 4th, 2025, and it's coming from developer Rogue Factor. Look, like any game on this list, it could release and crash and burn, but the pre-release information we're looking at here makes us pretty optimistic.
Yeah, it look interesting.
I'm only permitted to play Sabinian classics. I'm
Tides of
afraid.
Annihilation.
Unfortunately, I only.
Next over at number 7, Tides of Annihilation. This extremely ambitious looking action game kind of reminds us of a cross between Nier Automata and, bizarrely enough,
I kinda
Shadow of the
remember
Colossus.
seeing
It's an
something
action
about
game
this.
set in this destroyed London that looks to mix cinematic action and semi-open world elements, but then there are also these gigantic knights roaming the city that you have to climb up and systematically dismantle in what looks to be like big epic set piece battles. So we see some RPG elements, platforming that wouldn't look out of place in kind of an Uncharted game, and a really interesting combat system where you actually command 10 different knights in order to fight enemies. Does anybody remember Folklore for PS3? Anyone? It kind of reminds me of that. Now, from the reveal, this game appears to be highly polished and very cool looking. This whole Arthurian legends, but in modern day visual style.
Yo, they
gives
look
this
like
game
they
some
are
unique
moving.
identity.
Holy,
The
hold
gameplay is what
on.
really has our attention. Right off the bat, they're claiming
Bro, any
there's going to be
game where like
30
the
boss fights.
fighting bosses is like cinematic, make it look like a fucking movie. Bro, I'm already
From
like
what we've seen from the trailers, they do look like they're going to be
interested.
pretty cool. This one got revealed at a PlayStation event, but it's actually coming out for everything. And while this is coming from yet another mostly untested studio who have done a lot of support work in the past, this game looks like it's going to be really impressive when it comes out. Whenever it comes out, just because there's no release date yet. Next over at number 6, Storer Parkour Pro. This upcoming Q1 2025
Right.
indie looks really
Running like that.
intriguing. Just don't go into it expecting a horror game. That's just the name. What's actually interesting about this is the parkour, which does look really, really nice. It's set in this
Damn.
open world London with a story mode as well as multiplayer components. But this game looks like it's about one thing and one thing really only, and that's satisfying parkour gameplay. It apparently uses its own animation system that combines
that
motion
co-op?
capture with physics-based movement, and it does look really awesome. It's kind of like if Mirror's Edge had a love child with Human Fall Flat, which is just a really good idea. You get precision platforming and then also noodle people ragdolling and flopping around.
Yeah, the way
Everybody
they-
loves
they-
a good ragdoll. And from
they
the
like flopping around reminds me of Skate. Chronos. What haven't I heard of? That looks interesting. Project Century. They'll do these.
Next over at number 5, Chronos, The New Dawn. Now, there's been a lot of solid survival horror games recently, but what we usually get are either games in long-running franchises like, Resident Evil or Silent Hill, or low-budget indie games that can be very good, but I think what a lot of us do want is a high-fidelity horror game that actually does something kind of new. From what we've seen of Chronos, this new game from Bloober Team, this is the horror game we've been kind of waiting for. It's got a bizarre, time-bending premise where you play as a freaky bobblehead roaming the nightmare future in order to find time portals that'll allow you to retrieve people from the past and then bring them into the future for some reason.
Has a very interesting character design for the MC.
It's a weird looking game with weird concepts that seems to combine alien abstraction with Eastern Bloc brutalism in a way that just feels really unique, even while the actual
Reminds
gameplay
me of like Dead Space or like The Forest.
looks pretty recognizable, but in a good way. It's not a tedious walking simulator or a horror game with not a lot of real gameplay. This looks like it's like a full-on Resident Evil 4 Dead Space style third-person shooter where you're kind of slowly clunking around in your suit, shooting at all these weird malformed alien freaks and managing resources. It's a survival horror game technically, and it embraces that, and we're excited to see how it'll actually feel, how it actually will play when it comes out sometime in 2025. Look, you can go back a year or so and a lot of people would care a little less about seeing a new Bloober Team game, but after the Silent Hill 2 remake they did, we're hoping for the best with this one. Next over at number 4, La Chimera. Now,
That looked
it's pretty
interesting.
rare to see an old-fashioned,
Interesting.
story-driven first-person shooter game these days, but that's exactly what we're looking at here. And that alone is enough to get us excited. But there's actually a lot about this game that looks really promising. The shooting, for one thing, looks pretty solid, with futuristic guns that have some real pop to them and some exciting-looking special abilities.
It's an ambush! Fall back! Fall back! We need reinforcements! Cover!
I'm not gonna lie, something about this genre of games has not been like interesting to me in a very long time. I think Titanfall 2 was like the last time.
If you're doing an FPS, getting the shooting right, the feedback, the feel is essential. And this game looks like it's got the sauce for it. I'd expect as much, as the people making it are the developers Reburn, otherwise known as the newly independent
Well, no, that's not
4A
true.
Games
Hold on.
Ukraine, the guys who worked on the Metro series. Now, the main 4A Games branch was in Malta, and
I don't
they're still
remember
around, so the situation.
what the game is called, but whatever title it was that was made by the same people who made the BioShock games, that first-person shooter, I was interested.
Might be confusing
That
to
was
some,
the
but
last time.
all that really matters
I don't think
is
it
that
came
these
out yet.
guys aren't up and comers. They're veterans, and it seems like they've got some serious shooter credentials. Another interesting thing about this game is the setting. Rather than your standard dystopian setting, this one is set in a futuristic Latin America, which really gives the game its own unique vibe. We've never seen a South American cyberpunk setting, and that gives this game a unique flavor that's usually missing from games like this. It can be played solo or with up to 2 friends, so hopefully this one ends up being the fun roller coaster ride that the trailer really
hold on now.
promises. Of course, trailers are one thing, the actual game is another thing, but I don't know. This was a good trailer, man.
Okay, so that is one thing I will say. First-person shooter games that aren't multiplayer and are just purely story, if it is co-op, that might be something. That might be something.
Now at number 3, Clockwork Revolution. Remember this one? It got announced a while back, but from the premise alone, this just looks really intriguing. For one thing, this is coming from In Exile, the guys behind Wasteland 3, among other things. They've got the world-building credentials to do something interesting here. And what they've shown of Clockwork Revolution, as much as it wasn't a lot, it does seem ambitious and interesting. It's essentially a BioShock-style first-person shooter with everything you'd expect, like wacky steampunk guns, a fantastical setting, and some kind of weird special abilities that you can control with your other arm. Making a BioShock is exciting enough just because it's been so long since we've gotten a proper sequel, but that's not the real draw here. The thing that really makes Clockwork Revolution unique is what seems to be its time travel mechanic. In this game, you travel through time, apparently going back to key moments, and depending on your choices, they will actually affect what the city becomes. Is it a paradise with a dark side or a full-blown dystopia? The possibilities for reactive storytelling are endless if they really nail it. The big question is, how much can you actually change? How time travel works is still very vague. Right now, we have no idea how the system really works or how reactive it even is, or if it's just a linear gimmick. We don't know yet, but this is In Exile we're talking about here. Their entire bread and butter lately has been highly reactive RPGs. So this game could turn out to be something really unique, where you're constantly traveling back and forth in time, trying to figure things out in order to thread the needle and somehow create an actually good outcome to whatever conflict is driving this story. Look, nobody knows much, but the premise is just rife with possibility. And even though we're probably expecting more than the game can possibly deliver, can't help but get excited, just from the visuals, the world, all that stuff alone. Now at number 2, Reanimal. This is coming from Studio Tarsier. These are the guys behind the original Little Nightmares games. This game is essentially the real Little Nightmares 3. A different studio is working on that. These guys...
What? Wait. Ah!
These are the guys behind the original Little Nightmares games. This game is essentially the
I did not
real
know
Little
that.
Nightmares 3. A different studio is working on that. These guys branched off to do this. They're essentially just kind of continuing what they were doing before with a new name and some different spins. And honestly, that's all anyone really needs to get hyped about this one, because while it does all look pretty familiar to fans of their
Reanimal.
games, it does look even crazier and more intense.
Is
Now,
it co-op?
like their other games, Reanimal is going to be a narratively driven, highly scripted, and probably fairly short horror game where you're mostly sneaking
Oh
around
my
avoiding
lord, what the fuck is
probably fairly
that?
short horror game where you're most
Man, hell nah. Yo,
sneaking around,
what is
avoiding
that?
weird gigantic freaks and solving puzzles and exploring this bizarre, twisted, and beautifully designed world. Now again, no offense to Little Nightmares 3, which is being developed by Supermassive Games this time around. That game looks pretty good, but there's just something uniquely twisted about the original developer's vision, their takes,
Shit.
that you can really see in Reanimal here. And they're
More
doubling
the
down.
merrier.
The leash is off, and they're making what looks like their darkest, most disturbing game yet. I mean,
Bro, all right, some of them enemies, some of them monsters, whatever the hell you want to call them, look like they are from Software inspired. But yeah, the more the merrier, because I didn't know about the change in people in terms of like who was working on it. So the fact that they're making a game as well as Little Nightmares 3 is being made, I really enjoy these types of
just look at some of these freaks they've shown
Whatever the
in
fuck you
trailer.
you
The
call
game
this
is
genre
somehow
of gaming.
even more mysterious and grotesque looking than their previous games. We're just really excited for the music, the art design, the visuals, and that stuff alone. We're looking forward to playing this one with a friend because it's actually going to be fully playable co-op whenever it comes out. The game's release date right now is just a vague coming soon. Now at number one.
Reanimal, boy, that look like it's gonna be some shit. Okay, the soundtrack for Little Nightmares 2 was fire too. So yeah, he is right. I am anticipating some heat from the music in that game.
And this is a game we know very little about. Not even the official name, but this one already has us chomping at the bit for more. A completely new IP from the Yakuza studio that looks unlike anything else they've ever done. It's hard not to get excited about this thing, as of right now called Project Century. Look how cool it is. It's set in some kind of alternate universe Japan in 1915.
Oh my
And you play as,
goodness.
well, I don't know who you're playing as, who they are, or what's going on, but it looks awesome. Mostly all we got from the Game Awards announcement trailer was a lot of really intriguing shots of this unnamed city and some particularly brutal combat that looks like an evolution of the standard Yakuza beat-em-up combat to make the game more visceral than anything the studio has made previously. The way combat seems to transition seamlessly, the way you go into and out of buildings and move around the environment just looks so much more fluid and immersive here. I have no idea what it's about or even what the setting is outside of it being 1915 and in somewhere in Japan, but everything else is a total mystery. With the studio, RGG, it doesn't matter what they make, we'll always be there day one or at least be curious, but this one looks especially intriguing, right? Because it doesn't look like something completely new for the studio. I mean, the trailer focuses on a lot of beating up dudes in the street of a Japanese city that makes up, the average 60% of your typical Yakuza game's playtime, but everything else around that, everything about this one is a big and cool question mark. And we find that very exciting.
Yeah, that doesn't look interesting. All right, so my most anticipated is Reanimal. I am fucking with Phantom Blade. I do like the way that looks. Tides of Annihilation looks okay. And Chronos The New Dawn also looks good. Out of everything that I just watched. Everything that I just seen here. But speaking of this genre, this also popped up in my recommended. It is a Little Nightmares and Reanimal like horror game called Out of Sight.
Here for so long.
I don't know who this is made by.
I don't want to be here anymore. Wait, what's happening? Teddy?
Actually, let me see. New indie horror game developed in Unreal. New atmospheric game will remind you of Little Nightmares inside Limbo. Is it these people? Is it Infant Terrible? Are they the ones that made this?
Can you see me? You can see. This is our chance. We need to get out of here.
There's dialogue, though. All the other games ain't have no dialogue.
You can be our eyes, and I'll get us out.
The little girl is blind and we're in the body of a damn teddy bear. Yeah, I was gonna say that first comment. The thumbnail did look like something from
I'll have to place you down.
Among the Sleep.
There, where you're comfortable.
Okay, hold on. This is actually interesting. So if you can be placed down to like be like surveillance if something is chasing you, and she'll be like hiding.
For such a long time. How can you see for me, Teddy? What is this?
Collectibles. Ain't no way you came all the way down here just for a damn collectible. Gotta be somewhere to go. She just, yeah, you can tell she blind by her fit. What the hell she got going on? She just put on anything. Jumped in the closet, rolled around, came out looking like that. Not a single piece of clothing is matching. Oh, you could go left.
Are you a miracle?
Did it say where we are at? Like, is this ain't no house, is it? What the hell? Who has something like this in their house? Look like some Poppy Playtime playground.
Was it always this dark in here?
Those
Can we see
chains.
a good place for you to sit? I can push it down. That was a bit loud.
Yeah, I definitely want to know what the story is. Like, what is going on? Where are we? Why did we start out here? And what are we being quiet for? Who else is in here? Alright, well. That is a reasonable reason to be hiding. What the fuck is that? Damn female Slender Man. Big ass rat. She sound close, gang.
I hope she doesn't find us here.
W vocals.
I can lift you up.
It's definitely gonna be a point in time in this game where you get separated. Like she's gonna put you down and then she's gonna get fucking kidnapped or something, and you're just gonna be left there until somebody comes and gets you.
What? Is that you, Clayton?
GG's.
We have to be quiet, Teddy.
They will hear you. Always stay. Trailers, or not trailers. Teasers? What is this? Demo? They usually end on like some crazy ass cliffhangers. So you're either gonna get caught or maybe it could just be the end of a chapter.
Soon, soon, soon.
Don't like that breathing.
How do we get to the other room?
Is the game called Infant Terrible? No, it's just called Out of Sight. Damn. They got that posted up in the right hand corner, but I'm blocking it. Is that not something? Can she jump? Don't you gotta jump to the other side and push it down? Or no? Yo, whoever's playing is bullshitting, gang. I know you know what to do. And the order that you gotta do it in. She coming? Facts, bro. They know exactly what to do. They just fucking dragging it out so that the damn video can go on longer. Saving at a checkpoint. I mean, something about to happen.
What is this place? The window.
She about to get grabbed. She about to get grabbed. She about to get grabbed.
You're not allowed to leave. Oh, Sophie! Clayton! Sophie is out of her room. Bring her to me. Now.
Yes, my lady.
You're a fucking demon.
I'll bring her to your
ritual.
Oh, hell no. She got some damn, her own personal Igor.
Ow. Are you okay, Teddy?
She felt like 4 stories, gang. Durable ass. Okay. I am interested, though. I can't even sit here and lie. I am interested. I do want to see more. This does look kind of fire.
The window.
Lowercase stream. I wasn't even paying attention there, yo. I was focused on the fact that she's about to get grabbed by Slender Woman. Man, hell nah. Ah.
Ethan! Sophie is out of her room. Bring her to me. Now.
They said the game itself is called Out of Sight. So the whole time you got to stay out of sight. Otherwise, you know, does that mean that there isn't going to be any chase scenes? Because I feel like those tend to make it more intense